Today's gonna be a very special video for me because today I'm gonna be playing Pokemon Sword for the road to Nintendo Switch 2. And the reason this is special for me is because Pokemon Sword was not only one of the first Switch games that I was really addicted to, it was also the game that helped me get back into Pokemon. There are other reasons as to why I love this game, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it here, and we're just going to jump straight in and see kind of where I left off because I haven't touched this game in almost 2 years. Alright, so getting into the game, I last saved at my mom's house right here, and if I look at my save, okay, not my bicycle, but if we look at my save, I haven't played this game since 2023. God damn, yeah, so around a year and a half ago, I have not touched this game. And you could also see here that I have over 200 hours, 243 to be exact. And the reason I have so many hours on this game is because I sunk a lot of time into it over when we were on lockdown back in like 2020, 2021. Alright, but walking out, and I gotta say, this game brings back a lot of memories for me. I'm gonna kind of give my story on this game and how I got into it back in like 2019, but so far just walking through it, it brings back a lot of memories and a lot of good times from when I first played it. But I think one of the first things that I'm gonna do is check my box because I kind of want to see where I left off with my Pokemon, because I know I did a living dex for this game, or rather just, yeah, I did a living dex. I completed the Pokedex, but I also did a living dex for it as well, and I kind of want to see what my box looks like. Alright, so going into it, and you can see, like I said right here, I have an entire living dex for it. And if you're wondering why I have two Cinderaces, it's because this one is just kind of like a stand-in just to fill in the box. And this one right here is the one that I've had since 2019 when I first got the game. And just to see, let me just see real quick. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, right here. 2019 November 27th, and as you can see here, I tried to make this Cinderace as powerful as I could. So he has Pyro Ball, Acrobatics, Iron Head, Zen Headbutt, and all that stuff. I put all his stats into attack. He has a max Dynamax level. I gave him his hidden ability. I gave him everything. He even has Pokerus, which I completely forgot that I had it. I don't even know where I got Pokerus from, but I managed to give it to him, so I'm glad for that. But yeah, as you can see for my box, I made sure to grab every single individual Pokemon, so that way everything is filled out and I left no blanks. Well, actually, I think I did leave some blanks, but I'm not sure where. But yeah, as we continue scrolling, as you can see, got all the version exclusives. I got all of these Pokemon right here, like the fossils, and I got all the legendaries over here. And if you're wondering what these are right here and why they're in Japanese, if you guys remember, and if you're a fan of the anime, they did a distribution, like a Pokemon gift distribution, where they gave out members of Ash's team. And so I kind of just wanted to have these guys on hand, and these guys have not left my box because I actually have 2 copies of all these Pokemon right here. I got one for my Sword version right here, which is where I keep them, and I also got them on Pokemon Shield, which I also transferred to Pokemon Home, so that's where they're at right now. But as we continue on, these are more like the DLC Pokemon that I didn't really want to include with the Galar dex. So as you can see, we got Kanto. I filled that out. We also got the Johto Pokemon, the Hoenn Pokemon right here with these guys filling it out. We got Sinnoh, which is not a whole lot, but I decided to just include it. We got Unova, Kalos, Alola, and then, oh yeah, I forgot, I was shiny hunting for Sobble. I never got a shiny Sobble, but this box right here is kind of proof that I was shiny hunting for him, and I still have some eggs left over. We also got some regional forms here as well, and for some reason I did not fill it out. I'm not sure why. Maybe I was in the process of doing it and then I just stopped, but I just never finished my regional box for some reason. Here we have my G-Max Pokemon, which is where I managed to obtain and give all these Pokemon their G-Max forms. At least I think so. Their symbol is not okay, never mind. Alright, yeah, so the symbol just doesn't show up in the box, but as you can see here, I managed to give all these Pokemon their Gigantamax form, which was a bitch to get. I remember this took me a while to finish. So those are the G-Max Pokemon, and this is the legendaries, and this is where I kind of left off on the game. As you guys can see here, I don't have Lugia, I don't have Rayquaza, and there's another Pokemon that I can't remember. I don't have Palkia right here. This box is filled at the very least, and this right here, I'm missing another Pokemon, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. Oh, and also funny story, I just remember I'm missing Kyogre and Rayquaza. And the reason I don't have Kyogre, and I remember this, is because somebody at my school, at my high school, I was showing them my box, and they saw that I had a fuck ton of legendaries, and they were like, hey, I could trade you a Sobble if you could give me your Kyogre. And at first I didn't want to do it because it took me a while to get that Kyogre, but at the time I was playing this game so much that I figured that, okay, maybe I could just catch a new one, so it's not that big of a deal. So like a dumbass, I actually gave him my Kyogre, and as you can see here, I just never came back to actually finish this box. But now that we kind of looked over my Pokemon box, I actually do want to get into the game and see what we could do. And I think one of the first things I do want to try is potentially a gym battle. I do want to do the Dynamax Adventure, but I think I'll start off with a gym battle first since it's been a while since I did one of these. Alright, so we're here at Wyndham Stadium, and we're just going to come into this guy. We're going to do the Galarian Star Tournament because I think this is the only way you could rematch gym leaders. Actually, you can just do a normal tournament, but I want to do the Galarian, tournament instead. And before I start, I should actually make my team because it's just Cinderace in here. But the only problem is it's just like a lot of these Pokemon are kind of strong. I know the Pokemon here are probably in their like 70s or 80s, but I don't want to kind of like blitz through the gym since that would be kind of cheap.
A few moments later.
Alright, I made the team, and I'm not gonna lie, I said I wasn't gonna blitz it, but just to get through this video a little bit faster, I'm gonna decide to blitz through it with this team. And before any of you ask as to why I named this Gyarados stat, I'll get into it a bit later, I think when I do the Dynamax Adventures, but I have a reason as to why I named it that. But yeah, since all my Pokemon are level 100, I could just kind of talk about this game and my experience with it, especially when it was coming out. So my first exposure to Pokemon Sword and Shield, I remember I was in 8th grade, I was in middle school at the time, and I just remember I was sitting in my social studies class, or it was my history class. I think they're the same fucking thing, you know what I mean. But I was sitting in my history class, right? And I remember checking my phone and seeing that there was a trailer. I don't know if it was a Pokemon Direct, but it was still a trailer for this game. And I kind of thought to myself like, oh, okay, cool, another Pokemon game. The most that I was playing around this time was like Call of Duty and Dragon Ball FighterZ and stuff like that. So I kind of had taken a step back from Pokemon for quite a few years. But I saw the trailer, thought it was cool, didn't really pay too much attention to it. But I don't think it was until they revealed B, right? It wasn't until they revealed B in one of the trailers that I really started to look into this game more. And if you're asking why she's the reason that I started getting into this game more, don't ask, you know, just me being a dumb teenager at the time, you feel me? But yeah, once I saw her, I started to kind of think like maybe I should get back into Pokemon. I didn't really know at the time, so I kind of just pushed Pokemon back into my head just for the time being, kind of just being like, maybe I'll pick it up, maybe I won't. But fast forward to high school, my first year in high school, I was kind of at a low point. I'm gonna get real personal with y'all. I was at a low point in my life when I was in high school because at this time when I moved, none of my friends went to the same high school as me, right? Like I had friends in high school, but just in case they see this video, I got no beef with them anymore. But you know, the friend group that I was with at the time, you know, I didn't really like being around them at the time because just one of them made it really hard to be around. So I didn't really hang out with them too much. So I was really alone for a good chunk of that first year. And I remember that November this game ended up dropping, and I was just kind of like, you know what, I haven't played a Pokemon game in so long, why don't I just pick this up and see how it is? So somehow, some way, usually I only get like 2 games a year, which is my birthday and Christmas, but somehow I convinced my mom to lend me the money to buy this game, and I bought it that November 27th. As you guys saw from my Cinderace, that was the day that I started playing the game. And let me tell you, I have not been that addicted to a game in a long time. Like the last Pokemon game that I really invested a lot of time into was Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, and I didn't even own the game. I had to watch somebody play it because I lost my 3DS at that time. Or actually, I don't even think I lost it. It was just because my parents didn't buy me the game. But yeah, at that point, I haven't been invested into Pokemon in like half a decade. But yeah, by that point, I haven't been invested into Pokemon by like half a decade. So this was all like very new to me. Like, it was familiar, but like, once again, half a decade not playing this game, there was a lot of learning that I had to do. And during that time, I remember I took my Switch everywhere I could just so I could continue to play this game. And also, a really funny thing about this game is that I remember that I completely overleveled my Pokemon when I got to the champion fight, because I was so addicted to doing the Dynamax adventures, or not the Dynamax adventures, but just doing like the Dynamax raids, like the little dens and shit like that. I was so addicted to doing them and just leveling up my Cinderace that by the time I got to the champion fight, my Cinderace was level 100 and there was like no like difficulty to it. And also, I'm gonna switch out my Pokemon just so it's not just Cinderace taking up all the screen time. And I remember my team a little bit too. It was my Cinderace. I brought the legendary with me, which I know for a lot of people it's like, if you do that, that's kind of cheating, but you know, haven't played this game in a while, so I wasn't really thinking about it. But I brought my starter, my legendary, and then I probably brought like a bunch of other overpowered Pokemon as well, and I kind of just blitzed through the entire thing. But what, 14-year-old me at the time, I did not care. I was still having fun with it. And then fast forward to 2020, and I kind of put this game down, right? I wasn't really touching it. I was getting into other stuff. Actually, 2020 was the year that I started getting into video editing. I was getting into video editing and also making thumbnails and stuff like that. So I didn't really play too many Pokemon games at that time, or just games in general. And fuck, he actually knocked me out. I wasn't really playing too many games around that time because I really wanted to see how well I could do with like editing and stuff like that. But fast forward to 2021, and that changed again as I got back into Pokemon. And the way that I got back into Pokemon was through the anime this time. I actually remember I did try to watch Pokemon Journeys back when it first started airing, but I just kind of dropped it, and I eventually started to pick the series back up because it was on Netflix, and I was like, you know what, I have nothing better to watch, I might as well watch Pokemon Journeys, and I ended up loving it, so I ended up catching up with that. And then there was also Pokemon Sun and Moon on Netflix, and I ended up watching the entire series there. And just the combination of watching Pokemon Sun and Moon as well as watching Pokemon Journeys, it kind of got me back into a Pokemon mood where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pick up my Switch, I'm gonna start playing this game again. And I remember I ended up buying the DLC. I actually had an allowance at this time, so I had money to buy the DLC, and I remember I played through the entirety of that, and that was kind of where I kind of got the idea to start doing a living dex. I was like, you know, I have all these Pokemon that I could catch now, why not try to get all the Pokemon and see if I can make a living dex out of it. And eventually I did. You know, as you guys can see, I had a fully completed box, well, semi-fully completed, because you saw I was missing a few legendaries, but I had a completed box for the most part, and I was very satisfied with that. I'd say that was probably like the happiest I had been for a while, just playing Pokemon, watching Pokemon, not really having to worry about school because it was summertime. There was just a lot of stuff that in my personal life that I was dealing with. So this game was kind of like an escape for me. But we fast forward just a tiny bit more. I'm in the 11th grade now. I'm still playing this game, but I was done with my Pokemon Sword file for the most part. So I was mostly replaying this game through my brother's copy. He owns Pokemon Shield, so I just borrowed his game because he wasn't playing it at the time, and I would just replay it over and over whenever I had the chance. And I gotta say, I will not mention Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Legends Arceus because I do want to kind of give my thoughts on this game when I eventually play them. But man, I gotta say, 11th grade was a really rough year for me. Like, I was not doing all that well that year, and I really had not that many ways to like deal with my issues. So I really just used Pokemon Sword and Shield, as well as like the Pokemon anime, as well as the Pokemon manga. The manga really helped me. Like, it was a combination between the manga, anime, and Pokemon Sword and Shield that really kind of like helped me get through high school. Cause like, I'm not gonna say I don't want to self-diagnose myself and say I was depressed, but low-key, if I did not have these games at the time as a way to like cope with a lot of my problems, I'd probably be a depressed individual, and an even more depressed individual at that. But yeah, I know this game had a lot of issues, like the Dexit thing, like them kind of cutting the Pokedex down. That was a huge controversy that I didn't even know at the time, right? Because I just had Pokemon as a thing in the back of my head. I wasn't really worrying about it, but I know Dexit was a thing where people were mad that they were cutting the Dex down. I know people rag on the graphics. I know people rag on the story, which I 100% agree on. Like, but every time I come back to this game, it makes me realize just how bad this story is than I last remember it. I know people rag on the story, which, you know, I 100% agree. Like, without a doubt, this is the worst Pokemon story. Like, I know people say X and Y is bad, but at least they try to do something in X and Y. And this game, I don't know what they were trying to go for, and it was just such a nothing burger of a story for me. But yeah, story wasn't that great. There's a bunch of other problems with the game that I know. Like, I know the animations aren't all that good and stuff like that. Despite it all, given what this game was able to do for me when I was at such a low like place in my life, I still have a lot of fondness for this game despite all its shortcomings. Would I say it's my favorite Pokemon game? Probably not. When I go back and play games like Black and White 2, and stuff like that, I probably wouldn't say it's my favorite. It's still a game that I love a whole bunch, and I'm not gonna let people's opinions sway me to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, this game is completely trash. Like, there's still a lot of good that came from this game that I really enjoy, and I will always personally like this generation because it was what really got me back into Pokemon. And hold on, they're actually kind of doing good right now. I gotta actually focus up. I'm gonna see if I could Dynamax at least once, cause I'm not trying to have them do me dirty like they did in Teleon. So I'm gonna see if I could Dynamax the moment I get it. Alright, perfect. I actually got it right here. So we're just gonna do this. Dynamax. We're gonna do... Actually, I don't know which one I want to do. Which one do I want to attack? It depends. If Marnie has hers ready, I'm gonna probably just take out hers, and then we don't have to worry too much about Pierre's. But yeah, what are some other things that I can mention about Gen 8 and just Sword and Shield that I loved in general? I guess I could mention the anime just a tiny bit more. I'll probably lean more into the anime stuff when we get to Brilliant Diamond and Legends Arceus and stuff like that. But like I mentioned before, I started watching Pokemon Journeys back when it started releasing back in 2019. But then I dropped it. But then the series came to Netflix, and I started watching that, and eventually I caught up with the series on Netflix, and I started watching Pokemon Sun and Moon. But then after that, I kind of caught up with Pokemon Sun and Moon to the point where I finished it, and given that there was no new episodes of Pokemon Journeys on Netflix, I was only really left to watch it subbed on like streaming websites, or rather illegal streaming websites, that is. And I gotta say, I wasn't really too big into the Pokemon anime that much growing up. It wasn't really until when I started binging Pokemon Sun and Moon on Netflix that I was kind of like, yo, this series is actually kind of cool. Like, I should have gotten to the anime much sooner. I watched the subbed version for Pokemon Journeys, and stuff like the music and everything that they had going for it was so much different from the English dub that I kind of just fell in love with Pokemon Journeys from that moment on, as well as Gen 8. But yeah, as I was saying, the subbed version for Pokemon Journeys is what made me absolutely fall in love with it. Like, if you guys don't watch Pokemon that much, I'd really suggest you do it, and if you're gonna do it, at least watch it in sub. The dub is not bad, but I'm telling you, the sub is like a completely different, like damn near a completely different thing. Alright, but now that we did the gym battle, I guess we could do a Dynamax adventure.